Kane has lied for the last time, and someone's spying on Jack and Nikki at the cabin. Stay tuned for Restless Wrap-Up.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AFTERBUZZ TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Hey everyone, this is Rachel Goodman, and we are listening to the Young and the Restless intro music right now. It's just me tonight. Abby's not here, so you can find me on Twitter or Instagram at Rach Goodman. We have had one crazy week with Young and the Restless, if I do say so myself. Of course, if anyone is in the chat right now, as we go along, I would love to hear your feedback and comments on everything that's happening. And so let's go ahead and just kind of jump in. I'm going to start with Kane and Lily. So, personally, I thought Lily should have kicked him out well before this week, and she kept giving Kane all these chances over and over again. So, finally, when we get to this week, we see everything seem to kind of boil over. I kind of figured that this was going to be the week that something crazy was going to happen, and as we went along, the first thing we see is that Kane and Lily are basically talking, and Lily says that she's going to stay with Kane because she wants to teach her kids forgiveness. Meanwhile, Kane decides to continue lying, as he was last week, about everything going on with Jesse the cameraman. So last week, we didn't know for certain if he had actually sent the money or not, the $25,000. I had thought that he didn't, that he was right about to click. And he didn't. So as it turns out, I was right. It was he had not yet sent the money. So that kind of put us in a position where, as the audience, we were wondering, okay, what's going to happen this week? Is he going to send it? Is he not? Is he finally going to tell Lily the truth? Well, that is definitely not what happened. Actually, we have a comment in the chat. Andre Lawrence says, "Poor Kane. I don't think if he was to save a baby out of fire, no one would like him." Yeah. At this point, I don't really like Kane either. And I don't know, if he saved a baby from a fire, I might change my mind. But I don't like the fact that he has had so many chances to tell Lily and to tell his family the honest truth. And Lily has forgiven him so many times for so many terrible things. And he had his moment. He should have learned that he didn't have to go around hiding things from her, especially something like this. So as it turned out, he decided to go ahead and send the money on the computer. And let me point out that when Lily wanted to use the computer and he was like, no, don't touch that. I thought that was going to be the moment that she was going to be like, what are you hiding? Get out. No, he said, I'm running a virus scan. And she believed him. She was like, oh, okay. I mean, at first I wasn't sure because the way that she reacted was very, she had like a very skeptical look on her face. But she bought it. She was like, okay, I guess if you're running a virus scan, I won't touch it. No, trust me, he would not be freaking out that much if it was just a virus scan. And I say that because I used to work in IT, and yeah, that would maybe she doesn't realize because she is not around the IT world, but Kane's reaction was definitely not about a virus scan. So, okay. My first question is, anyone in the chat right now, what do you think Kane should have done in this situation? Do you think that, how should he have handled it? I mean, I definitely don't think he should have sent the money, which is very obvious. But if you had been Kane, what would you have done to fix this situation, especially with Jesse? Because I guess my question is, what does Kane really think is on the line at this point? He's already lost his job. If Lily finds out what he did to Billy, if he had been the one to tell her, maybe she wouldn't have cared so much. But no, Kane wires the money, and while he was wiring it, I was like, no, he did not. No, stop. Don't do it. No. But he did it. And I knew in that moment that that was going to be the end of Kane and Lily because I knew she was going to find out. We have Aaron Brody in the chat. Hey, Aaron, how are you doing? Thanks for joining tonight. And if you have any feedback or comments, we're just talking about Kane and Lily. If you were Kane, how would you handle what happened? That's the question that I just asked everyone. Andre says, just tell the truth. Yeah, I agree with you because honestly, Kane has nothing to lose. He doesn't have the job. If he had the job, I could understand he wouldn't want Billy and Victoria to find out. But what are they really going to do to him now that he's fired? The worst they could do is tell Lily. So yeah, he should have just told Lily and gotten it over with. Ice Woman 1887 says, Kane should have told Lily the truth. Yeah, I agree. And Aaron says, I'm so glad Lily kicked Kane out. Yeah, I definitely agree with that too. If she didn't kick him out this time, I think I would no longer have felt bad for her. That's how bad it was. That's the point I was getting with her. Is that this guy has done so many things to you, and you've sort of kind of accepted it, and well, not accepted it, but you've been able to say that you will forgive him. Even the other things that he did were bad enough. But if she had not kicked him out this time, I would have lost all sympathy for her, because at that point, it's like, okay, well, you're the one putting yourself in this situation now. But luckily, she made the right choice and kicked him out. All right, so now as we're dealing with Kane and Lily, I'm going to go into Billy and the footage for a second, and then we'll come back and talk about Kane and Lily a little bit more. So, okay, so as Kane is going through all this with Lily, we see that basically Billy is dealing with Jesse and trying to get information out of him. And the whole thing with Jesse is, I said last week that the guy, like, as soon as I saw him, and this had been my first time seeing him last week because I had not been watching Young the Restless before that. When I saw Jesse the first time, I was like, wow, this guy is definitely bad news. I continued to dislike him even more as this went along, and he's not even, honestly, I mean, yeah, he's blackmailing people, but he's not even the main bad guy, and I was starting to, I don't know, I disliked him more than Kane. I don't know what you guys thought about that. Even though I don't agree with what Kane was doing, I thought that I think Jesse's more unlikable as a character. We have Jan Napinez, I'm sorry if I butchered your name, but they say, clearly lying in the past hasn't worked, so why did he think lying would work this time? I completely agree with you, Jan, and here's the thing. I think that expression goes something like, crazy is doing the same thing and expecting different results. So clearly, Kane should have realized that lying again to Lily and telling her something that was not true, like, oh, I'm gonna make an investment. What? Oh, and why did she even believe that he was making a $25,000 investment to, try and make more money? I don't get why she believed that for a second. But just the fact that even if that is what he had done, did Kane really think that his wife that Lily wouldn't notice $25,000 missing in their account? I don't get how he could be so dumb to just move the money like that without thinking what the consequences are. But then again, it's Kane, and he seems like he never thinks about the consequences of his actions. Terrell says, or Terrell, I'm sorry if I pronounced your name wrong, Kane has been lying to Lily all along. Yeah, most definitely, and it looks like he finally got what he deserved with that. Ice Woman 1887 says, Kane will never change. When he first came to town, he was making everyone believe that he was Philip. Oh yeah, I think I read about that when I was reading about his backstory. So yeah, obviously, once a liar, always a liar. And I would love to believe that Lily telling him to leave would finally get him to wake up. But guys like him, I don't know. I don't know that he can ever fully realize, because Kane's problem is that he seems to blame other people for the things that he does. Even in all of this, when Billy and Victoria came to the house and finally confronted Lily about what they knew with Jesse, even in that moment, he didn't seem to want to take responsibility. It's like he was real quick to say, no, they're just trying to pit you against me, Lily, instead of saying, yeah, I did it. And then when he finally does start saying that, he's like, I'll never do it again. I'll never lie to you. Ugh, I was so irritated with him. It's like, no, why? Why are you even saying these things? They are clearly not true. We have IF Kerala asking, is this Game of Thrones? You know what? Sometimes it seems that way, doesn't it? And Taylor Jones says, I feel bad for the twins. Yeah, I agree. In this whole situation, they are the two I feel the worst for. I mean, of course I feel bad for Lily, but the twins don't deserve any of this. They're just innocent kids, teenagers. And I have to point out that speaking of the twins, when the twins saw Kane leaving, the look on Charlie's face was priceless. Like, he seemed super protective of his family, of his mom, of Maddie. It made me really like Charlie as a character a lot. And yeah, I know that sometimes that makes it difficult for Maddie because of Maddie and Reed, and Charlie's been really protective over her. But just seeing Charlie be that protective over what Kane has done, it made me feel good, really good about that character. And I'm glad that they have someone like Charlie to be there for them. Aaron Brody says, yes, I got lots of comments tonight. Cool. He says, Kane should have told the truth to Lily. Don't ever pay a blackmailer. They always come back asking for more money. Yeah, and that's the thing with Jesse, is that, first of all, Kane's big thing was, he goes to visit him at the coffee shop, and Kane basically tells Jesse, this is the last money. Don't ever ask me for more. Well, okay, here's the thing. What contract? First of all, you can't, if someone's blackmailing you like that, I'm sure that there's no legal contract that you're going to be able to write up and have the guy sign, number one. Number two, why would you ever trust Jesse's word that he wouldn't come back and hit you up for more money later? That's what I'm thinking. So if this guy Jesse, I'm assuming that the first time when Kane paid Jesse, it was probably something similar to, okay, here's your payment, one-time payment, not every year, not every couple of years. He probably made an arrangement that, here you go, here's a one lump sum of cash or whatever it was to do this and mess with the footage. So now Jesse's coming back, and Kane really believes that Jesse's not ever going to hit him up for more money. And also, what would be stopping Jesse, who clearly has no problem, number one, blackmailing people, but number two, messing with people by changing footage? What's stopping Jesse from going to Billy and telling him everything, even if Kane pays him? So I did not get Kane's logic. He was too trusting of Jesse to just let it go like that and pay him the money. Yeah, crazy. All right, so we have Taylor Jones. Whenever someone does the twins dirty, I go crazy, so expect loads from me. Yeah, oh my gosh. I'm excited to hear your feedback, definitely, but I definitely don't like what Kane was doing, and he pretty much did nothing to redeem himself at all, and every time he tried to talk himself out of it, it just made me dislike him more. Andre says, I like the fact that Charlie is finally getting along with Reed. Yeah, I agree. And I like how it kind of almost organically happened. I mean, I know they had a couple of confrontations about it, but speaking of the twins and Maddie and Reed, what I really loved was the scene between Juliet and the three of them. I feel like if they, obviously Charlie didn't really like Reed too much before, but he was going to give him a chance for Maddie's sake. I feel like now the three of them kind of got together and realized that they're on the same side when it comes to Juliet. So after that confrontation, it actually might bring them closer together, which I thought was awesome. Especially, dealing with teenagers, I would hate to see bad things happen to them. So I really like Maddie and Reed. I really like Charlie. And the fact that Juliet was, first of all, the fact that she was hitting on him at all the time before was just, even if she didn't realize who he was, it's just kind of crazy because he looks young and I don't understand that. But I'm glad that it was 3 against 1 in the coffee shop, and they definitely scared Juliet off. She went running. I don't know what you guys thought about that, but I am not a huge fan of Juliet at this point either. And Hubby Joe says, Kane Walk of Shame was classic. I completely agree, and it was so shameful. And actually, my husband pointed out too while we were watching that when Kane was leaving with the 2 luggages, the first luggage that was on the top looked way too flat. It was like he had nothing in it. So we just thought that was funny. And then Aaron Brody says, yes, I'm so glad Kane got kicked out this week. Taylor says, Juliet is so ridiculous, I'm screaming. Yeah, I agree with both those statements. Aaron Brody says, don't worry, Reed and Charlie will be best friends by the end of the summer. Yeah, it certainly seems that way. And I would love to see that happen too, because definitely the kids getting together against what's happening with Juliet and Kane, yeah, that is a really awesome way to, have things move. All right, well, let's go ahead and skip to Billy and the video footage. So and we'll kind of, from there, we'll kind of lead into Victoria and get into what's going on with her. So Billy, he's trying to basically figure out what's going on with Jesse. Finally, he does, and they obviously have that confrontation with Kane and Lily. But in this whole exchange, what I wanted to point out is that it definitely seems like Billy and Victoria are getting a lot closer. I don't know what you guys think about that, if you think that they might end up getting back together. We have a few more comments in the chat. We have from Terrell, why the heck wasn't JT there for his son's relationship problems? I agree with that. And Aaron says, I wanted to slap Juliet when she showed Kane that picture of the baby. Yeah. Completely ridiculous and uncalled for. I still don't get what Juliet's up to. I think number one, I don't know if it even is Kane's baby. I still don't think that. And number two, I think that she has more up her sleeve than what she's, pretending right now or not telling us. Hubby Joe says, that was awesome how Billy and Victoria tricked the camera guy. Yeah, let's talk about that for a second. So that was amazing and not how I expected that scene to go. Billy gets Jesse to come in somehow. I was kind of interested on how he actually got Jesse to follow him, but he did. And they're back at Brash and Sassy, and basically Victoria pretends like she's gonna write this Jesse guy $50,000 as she's pretending to write on whatever it is. Jesse's like, okay, here you go, here's the memory card, throws it over, and what do you know? Victoria's not writing anything. Yeah, that definitely took me by surprise. Didn't expect that to happen, and I actually felt like I wanted to clap in that moment because like I said, I don't like Jesse, and I just want him to leave and not come back, and I highly doubt that that's actually going to happen, though. To me, he seems like a guy who's going to keep coming back, even if it's, I don't know, let's say work for Victor. Not sure that that would ever happen, but I could see it. Okay, in the chat, we see, okay, Taylor says, definitely isn't Kane's baby. Juliet is an idiot. Yeah, I agree. Andre says, that's never been explained. I think he meant for, I'm not sure, but I think for how Billy got the cameraman to come in. I'm not sure if that's what he meant, though. And Turtle Slayer Turtleman says, I don't believe for a second that that's Kane's baby. Aaron hates Juliet. Yeah, I do not like her either. And, oh, okay, so I think, Taylor says, honest to God, nothing has been explained about JT. Yeah, we'll have to see. Maybe in the next couple of weeks we'll learn more, but I agree with you on that completely. And Terrell says, why the heck was JT never there for Reed's own problems? Yeah. Well, and the thing is, for me, I have not been watching long enough to see the full history of Reed and JT's relationship, but I'm completely there with you. from what I did see, it just seemed very brief and didn't make sense. Andre says, I like the teamwork of Billy and Victoria. Yeah, I agree with that, and I really want to see them get together, too. That would be great. But let's talk about Victoria for a second. So, obviously, now, I think we heard Nick at one point say, how's Victoria feeling? So, to me, I'm thinking, well, if they're still talking about what happened at Nikki's performance, then something is about to happen with with Victoria, not Nikki. So when first we saw Victoria kind of confiding in Abby, and when that happened, I didn't really think anything of it. It just seemed like a moment when Victoria was just kind of more emotional and she was going through some things, and they, ever seeing Billy leave with Phyllis, I could kind of see she was upset about that. I don't know what you guys think, but I think all of that led her to the emotions. But when Abby reminded her the next day that Victoria had confided, Victoria didn't seem like, she almost seemed like she didn't remember it, which made me think, maybe she is still affected by that fall. And then we get to Benjamin, and Victoria basically shows this whole entire side of her where she just wants to go, get a room with Benjamin, basically. What do you guys think about that? Let's see if we have any comments in the chat. Well, we have some comments about the teens. Aaron said, I love the teens ganging up on Juliet. Yeah, I agree. And, okay, here we go. Taylor says, and this is about Victoria. Taylor says, my mom was telling me if Victoria has a brain tumor, I swear. And then she says, I hope that doesn't happen. Yeah, I don't know what it could be. Obviously I'm not a doctor, so I don't know what's going on with her, but I do know that obviously a concussion can do a lot of harm, and I can believe that it's the reason why she's going through all this. However, I do think it's odd that when she went to the doctor, they told her that she was probably going to be okay, but the doctor did seem to believe that it was bad that she didn't come to them sooner, but I don't know. I thought it kind of was wrapped up, but I guess not, because she is definitely doing some interesting things right now. Terrell says, if Brad Carlton would still be alive today, he would love to hear about the drama between Victoria and Billy. Well, I'm honestly not sure who Brad Carlton is, if you guys wanted to fill me in on that, but I'm sure you're right on that. And Nakisha Jones says, that bump on her head and her passing out last week. Yeah, that's definitely, I agree, that's definitely why. And then also, they seem to be cluing us in every time she hears ringing in her ears. That seems to be the hint that she's changing, so when she was talking to Abby, we didn't hear that ring. It was just a certain expression that we saw from her. And the thing is, in that moment, when she was confiding in Abby, I also just want to say that it was a wonderful moment for that actress. She did an amazing job. It made me emotional watching her. So I just thought that was some of the best acting I've seen on the show. I don't know what you guys think about that moment, if it affected you the way it affected me, but it was amazing and very believable that she was actually going through those things in a very tender moment with her sister, who obviously she's had issues with. So it was nice to see. And Aaron says, I think Victoria is going deaf. Huh. That's interesting. Yeah, I could see that happening too, especially with the ringing in her ears. That makes complete sense. Hubby Joe says, it will turn out to be fluid built up on the brain and she will need brain surgery. Yeah, I could see that too. And it looks like a couple people are agreeing with him. And Andre says, I don't want to see the split personality storyline. Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree but a lot of people seem to think it might just be fluid built up in the brain, so we'll see what happens. Let's go ahead and move on. So we have, let's just talk about Jack and Nikki for a little bit, my favorite couple on the show. And all right, we see that someone is spying on them. I, of course, think it's Victor, and that would be the obvious choice. But yeah, I thought, not even just touching on the fact that someone was spying on them and taking pictures, but just watching them at the cabin, those were some of my favorite moments of this week's episodes, of this week's scenes, because I just loved how things, at least to them anyway, seem like they're just going very smoothly and calmly, and they're getting to know each other, and Nikki isn't stressed out because she's away from everything. And I loved the whole exchange when they were looking at the fishing rods, and they both realized that neither one of them had done much fishing. So I thought I appreciated that moment, and I loved it, and love how the tension's still there because someone is watching them, and we'll see. We'll see hopefully we'll find out who it is next week. And then let's get into Victor a little. What do you guys think of what he's been doing, especially to Nick? I already don't like Victor, but the things that he's doing to Nick make me furious. I don't care that Nick did that to Nikki when she was performing and almost at the concert, but just the fact that Victor obviously does not let things go, and I gather that from the other things I've seen him do, the sneaky things, and obviously Nikki leaving him for these things, and Victor just doesn't learn. Not that he's like Kane. I mean, it's a much different kind of situation with Victor, but I'm scared for Jack and Nikki. If he doesn't already know, and he's about to find out, I can only imagine what he's going to do to the both of them. And obviously Jack and Nikki don't care, and they realize this per the conversation they had, but still, I'm very worried for them. Let's see what some of the comments are. Okay, we have Andre. He was married to both Vicky and Nikki. Yeah, I think I remember reading that. Hubby Joe said they were completely happy. Ice Woman, Victor will never change. Andre, I think it's Jack's mom. Yeah, those are all very valid points. I guess we'll find out who it actually is. And Jan says, Victor has literally been the worst for the longest time. Yeah, you know what? That's kind of what I'm seeing. And he's not, like, if you look at a guy like Kane, yeah, Kane does bad things, but Victor's like manipulating people, and he's sneaking around, doing these bad things, messing with Nick. All Nick's trying to do is help his son open up more businesses, and Victor's screwing with them. Like, come on. Like, even if you don't like your son and you don't like what he did, I mean, just let it go. But nope, Victor's not going to do that. Steve Watson says, plot twist. The man taking pictures was Adam. Remember, rumors said we'd see him last week. Oh, interesting. You know what? I could buy that too. Now, when I started watching, Adam was already dead, so I have not actually met Adam yet. So that'll be interesting if they do bring him back. And I could totally see that happening based on the backstories that I've read. So we'll see. And Andre says, Adam is friends with Jack. I don't think it's him. Okay. Well, I guess we'll see. I'm sure they're not going to keep that from us. Eventually we'll find out who's taking the pictures. Aaron said, I cried when Victoria had that breakdown last week. Yeah. And actually I was talking to Abby Scott, and she said the same thing. We were both saying how that moment really made us emotional, and we cried right along with her. All right, so let's talk about Sharon and Crystal really briefly and the sex victim. So what do you guys think about that? What are your predictions with Crystal? Because, okay, so from seeing Chloe for the little amount of time that I did, Crystal almost kind of reminded me of Chloe for some reason. I could be off on that. And I know that Chloe has done things that weren't always great. So the way that I see Crystal is, I almost wonder if everything going on with her is a setup or a trap or something. And I completely understand why Sharon will want to help her, but it just seems like there's way more going on than what we know. But tell me what you guys think, and maybe we can get some predictions. All right, so let's just touch on Phyllis and Billy too, and some of the smaller things that were happening this week. So I have to say that I actually felt bad for Billy when he was talking to Phyllis, and basically Phyllis was like, like Billy was trying to tell her everything that was going on at work, and she didn't really want to hear it, and he was just trying to talk and vent. And I get that he talks about work too much, but I personally felt bad for him because we can see as viewers that he is going through a lot, and it would be nice for him to be able to talk about it. But if nothing else, it just showed me that Phyllis and Billy just aren't right for each other. And I know we talked about this a couple weeks ago, but I think the sexual chemistry is there, but how they interact with each other and talk, I could see it fizzling really fast. We've got some more comments in the chat. So let's see. Aaron says, I'm sure Victor had Nikki followed. It's probably some reporter watching them. Yeah, that would make complete sense. Turtle Slayer says, I've watched Young and Restless since I was little, so early 2000s. Having a grandma, sister, and mom that watched Y&R, I was doomed from the start. Adam is always my favorite character. Yeah, I'm with you there. So I've probably in like the early 90s, it was always on in my house, but I was too little to actually understand what was going on. But whenever I hear the intro music, I'm like instantly brought back to my childhood. So I'm with you there. Let's see. We have, Aaron Brody, I can't believe Victor canceled Nick's membership. How rude. Yeah, like, okay, I don't really get, why does Victor have to be that determined to mess with Nick? I mean, he said, you're no longer my son, and he should have realized that's enough to actually upset Nick. So why doesn't he just let it go? But nope, he's not. I'm really worried about what other plans he has to mess with Nick, and I see this going really badly. Okay, let's see. Nikisha says, maybe when Adam comes back, he'll be with Rafe. Oh, Ravi. Or maybe I said that wrong. But we'll see what happens with that. I have not ever seen Adam, so I don't have much of a comment on that, but we'll see what happens. I'm interested to see if Adam does come back, what happens, and how that affects Nick, too, because I've heard him talk about Adam in passing, and it seems like he was very affected by everything. Hubby Joe says, his son is no longer his son. Yeah. I'm still laughing about that. This was not this week, but the week before, when Victor literally, within the 2 sentences, when he went to the underground and was talking to Nick, first he said, son, and whatever he said, blah, blah, blah. Then he said, you are not my son. So it didn't make sense that he would call him his son and then say, you're not my son. So, yeah, I thought that was funny. Nikisha says, does anyone else think that when Adam comes back, he'll be with Rafe, or it would be revealed he nursed him back to help? Interesting. We'll have to see. I'm actually not too familiar with either of those characters, so I'm sure I'm saying it wrong. Let me know if I am. I apologize. And let's go ahead. Since we don't have too much more time, let's get to our segments. So first, we're going to look at the lol moment here. I'm going to laugh right along with that. I had 2 moments I thought were especially funny. First of all, when we see the camera shot of Jesse with Kane in the background, I thought this was hilarious. So first we've got Jesse, and he's just looking like, yes, I will get him. Like, it's like insert evil laugh here, because that is one like crazy looking evil laugh in the making, if I do say so myself. Plus, look at Kane. He's just like, lurking. They like to do this on the show, lurk behind other characters. But I just thought, I saw this and I had to pause, and I had not even watched the whole week yet, but I knew this was going to be my lol moment. I just took a screenshot. Yeah, so that was number 1. The other thing is, I would say is with when Nikki and Jack were talking in the cabin. And Nikki said something like, you're not the only one in the driver's seat. And this is right before she like puts emphasis on what she said by feeding him their breakfast. And I thought that was funny too. All right, and we'll go ahead and we'll get to our predictions. So I think that Victor is definitely the one spying on Nikki and Jack. And I think there's going to be another fist fight with Nick and Victor once Nick discovers that Victor's doing this to him. The last thing I want to mention is Zach and Abby. And I know we didn't really get to touch on this, but I think that Zach has a hidden agenda. And when he got that phone call right in the middle of their date, I almost thought that we were going to find out what that agenda was or get like a hint toward it. Something doesn't rub me the right way with Zach, so we'll see what happens with that. Let's look at some of the comments, and of course, if you guys have predictions, let me know, and I will read them. All right, Andre says, Victor's gonna take Nikki and Nick's money. Yeah, I could see that. He definitely seems like that kind of person who would mess with them. This guy, if he would do this to his own son, even after saying that it's no longer his son, I feel like Victor's capable of doing anything. He just he doesn't care. If you're his enemy, he will mess with you. So we'll see what happens with that. Nikisha says, Adam had a sort of relationship with Rafi. He was his lawyer, and until Adam screwed up, his best friend. Oh, okay. Well, thank you for explaining that, and I'm sorry if I'm saying her name wrong. I will definitely have to look that up and get more familiar with that storyline in case Adam does come back. We have another comment from Terrell. Hope Jesse would not turn out to be Jack's long-lost son. Oh, my God. Oh, that would be crazy. I don't know, I guess I would kind of see that. I could see that happening, but I'd feel bad for Jack. I know, like, I've heard Jack has done some things that weren't too great, but everything I've seen him do I like, and I'm definitely pro Nikki and Jack, definitely. And, I guess, okay, Kimmy just brought up, you forgot Tessa and Mariah. Yeah, let's definitely touch on that. So Tessa and Mariah finally kissed. I don't know what you guys thought about that and what happened, but basically they kissed, and it seemed like they both really liked it, but Tessa basically said they should forget about it. That made me sad because I have been hoping for this to happen. They're kind of like, I really like Nikki and Jack together, and I really want Tessa and Mariah together too. And so when they kissed, I was like, yes! Until Tessa said, well, let's just pretend it didn't happen. We were emotional. And I mean, I get that she would say that because she's in a relationship and Mariah's in a relationship. But Mariah saying that she loved, basically this all happens, and then Mariah and Devon are alone, and she finally tells him that she loves him. Did anyone else think that she was doing that to overcompensate for the fact that she is definitely into Tessa now, and she's growing less and less into Devon? Sam says, do you think Mariah is a lesbian woman with Tessa? Yeah, I believe that she is. But I mean, I think she obviously does like Devon, but I think that she has a much stronger connection with Tessa, and I think that's really who she should be with, especially with the way that Devon was treating her, where he wasn't over Hillary, and I just don't see a huge spark with Devon and Mariah. Let's see. Nikisha says, I've been hoping for this as well. Terrell says, I bet Noah would be so pissed off. Yeah, you know what? I think that Noah would be too, because I remember a couple weeks ago, he was the one saying that he didn't want to take it too fast because he gets hurt really easily. So yeah, I think he'll be the most devastated. I could see Devon being upset too, but I could see him getting over it a little more easily than Noah. Noah seems like he's putting everything into this, even though he's the one who said, let's take it slow, but he did that for a reason. Let's see, we had Taylor said, I think Mariah is bisexual. Yeah, I could see that. I could definitely see that. But I think, for me anyway, I still see more of a connection between her and Tessa. Ice Woman says, Tessa backed away from it because Mariah was freaking out about it. Yeah, and that's true too. And that could be the miscommunication, is that Tessa thought, oh, well, maybe Mariah, feels uncomfortable with this, so I have to play it off differently. Either way, I see it happening again, and I see it ending up being a huge mess between the four of them. But I think in the end, at least I would hope, my prediction is that Tessa and Mariah will definitely get together. Nikisha says, I hope this goes well, not like what happened with Adam and Rafe. Yeah, I hope it goes well too, but you know how it goes in soap operas. It might not be going so well. Aaron says, Zach is Zach is the one running the sex ring. Yeah, that's I didn't even think of that. That is a wonderful prediction, and I bet it's true. Andre says, I don't get Mariah/Tessa, and it seems as though she's manipulating her. You mean Mariah manipulating Tessa, or the other way around? So I could see that. I think the only thing I don't get about it is that a couple weeks ago, Mariah was really upset over Devon, and I didn't see her being interested in Tessa until that moment when basically Mariah was venting about Devon, and I think it was Mariah who touched Tessa's hair, and that's when I started to notice that they had this chemistry. But before that, I did not see it. So yeah, I understand that, and I'm wondering how she actually does feel about Devon. Maybe Mariah's in a place where, yeah, she still does care for Devon, but I think she's starting to realize her feelings for Tessa are getting way bigger than what they were before, if she had them before. I think it was wrong for her to tell Devon that she loved him, but I understand emotionally why she would jump there, because she is clearly trying to push away whatever she does feel for Tessa because of what happened. All right, well, we don't have any more comments, so I think this is probably a good place to stop. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. This has been awesome, and I could not have done this without the chat. You guys were definitely my co-hosts today. Thank each and every one of you. You can find me on Twitter or Instagram at Rach Goodman, or Facebook at Rachel Ann Goodman. And I'll also be co-hosting The Ray Donovan Show on Tuesday night, if anyone watches that, at 10 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. In the meantime, we're going to end on Ray Charles' song because it's very fitting for Kane, who needs to hit the road.
That's right, hit the road, Jack. And don't you come back no more, no more, no more, no more. Hit the road, Jack. And don't you come back no more. What you say? Hit the road, Jack. And don't you come back no more, no more, no more, no more. Hit the road, Jack. And don't you come back no more. Now, baby, listen, baby.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.
No more, no more, no more, no more. Hit the road, Jack. And don't you come back no more.
Well,
Don't you come back no more.
what you said?
Don't you come back no